At exactly 12:14 a.m., on my 25th birthday, my stepfather barreled through my apartment door like a storm unleashed, his fists raining down 9 brutal blows that split my lip and cracked a rib, while my mother lingered in the shadows of the hallway, not screaming for help, not pulling him back, but laughing a low, chilling chuckle that echoed louder than his grunts. And then, as I gasped for air on the cold linoleum floor, tasting the metallic tang of my own blood, she stepped closer, her face twisting into something unrecognizable, and whispered, "You brought this on yourself,
Sarah."
you've been tearing us apart for years." Those words hit harder than any punch, shattering the illusion I'd clung to, that she was the victim, that I could still save her from him. In that moment, sprawled amid the splinters of my broken door, I realized the deepest cut came from the woman who'd raised me, the one who'd chosen her monster over her own daughter. My name is Sarah Thompson, and I'm 32 now, living a life pieced back together in the rainy outskirts of Seattle. But this story drags me back to that night in my cramped studio apartment in Tacoma, where I'd carved out a fragile peace after years of chaos. I worked as a social worker at a local nonprofit, guiding families through their own messes while burying mine deep under layers of forced smiles and late-night therapy sessions. That birthday evening, I dragged myself home after a grueling shift, arms full of cheap Chinese takeout and a half-hearted plan to binge-watch old sitcoms alone. The apartment was my fortress, mismatched thrift store furniture, bookshelves crammed with psychology texts, a single fern thriving against all odds by the window. No raised voices, no tiptoeing around tempers, just quiet solitude. I'd earned this space, fought for it tooth and nail since escaping home at 18. Washing my fork in the sink, I barely registered the first pounding on the door. Boom.
Boom.
Like thunder echoing through the thin walls. My heart knew before my brain caught up. That primal freeze. The way my breath hitched. Muscles coiling tight. "Open up, you little bitch."
His voice,
slurred and furious, sliced through the wood. Victor. My stepfather. A hulking figure I hadn't laid eyes on in over a year. Peering through the peephole, I saw him swaying, veins bulging in his neck. But it was her, my mother, Elaine, standing behind him that turned my stomach to ice. She wasn't shrinking away or pleading, she wore this eerie grin, like she'd just won some twisted game. My fingers trembled as I fumbled for my phone. "I'm calling the cops," I yelled, voice cracking. "Do it," she replied, calm as a still pond. "Tell them how you've been stalking us. How we're getting that protection order against you." Protection order? I hadn't reached out in months. Not since I'd anonymously mailed her a brochure for a battered women's hotline, hoping it might spark something in her. Victor rammed the door again, the frame groaning under his weight. On the third hit, it gave way, wood cracking like bones. He lunged, grabbing my arm with iron fingers, twisting until I dropped the phone. It skittered across the floor, screen shattering on impact. "You think you can meddle in our lives?" he growled, breath reeking of whiskey and hate. Filling her head with that poison, trying to steal her from me. The first punch landed on my cheek, stars exploding in my vision. Then my side, my arm, my jaw, 9 times, each one deliberate, like he was marking territory. I curled into myself, old instincts kicking in, counting to stay grounded amid the pain.
"Mom, please."
I wheezed, blood bubbling on my lips. She crossed the threshold, avoiding the debris with dainty steps. "This is your fault," she said, voice laced with venom. Always the martyr. Always painting Victor as the villain. "You've been twisted since your dad passed." Her words were a knife twist, deeper than the bruises blooming on my skin. My father,
Tom,
who'd battled lung cancer with quiet grace, who'd made me swear to watch over her. Victor snatched my cracked phone, stomping it under his boot until it was unrecognizable shards. No more games, he spat. But he didn't know about the hidden panic button I'd wired under the counter, a lifeline from my counselor, triggered silently to alert emergency services. He didn't know the building's hallway cams were rolling, or that I'd stashed voice memos of his old threats in a cloud folder, building a digital armor without fully admitting why. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Victor froze. But Mom's grin faltered only when blue lights flashed through the window. Tacoma PD swarmed the stairs, drawn by the alarm and a neighbor's frantic call. Victor bolted, but they tackled him in the hall, cuffs snapping shut. "It's her fault," he bellowed. "She provoked us." As paramedics wrapped my wounds, I watched Mom's face crumble, anger giving way to blank defeat. The same hollow stare she'd worn at Dad's funeral, when grief had first hollowed her out. The ER lights buzzed overhead. 52 tiles in the ceiling grid. I counted them to anchor myself while waiting for scans. Memories flooded in, pulling me back to before Victor. Before everything soured. Dad's diagnosis hit when I was 9, the endless hospital visits, his skin paling under the harsh fluorescence, but his stories never fading. "Sarah Bear," he'd rasp, squeezing my hand. "Take care of Mom for me. She's tough, but she'll need your spark." I promised, wide-eyed and solemn, not grasping the weight. After he slipped away, it was just us in a modest duplex in Spokane. Mom waitress doubles at a diner. I'd color menus in the booth after school. We shared ice cream sundaes on paydays, danced to old radio tunes in the kitchen. Healing came in fits, but we had each other until Victor Hayes entered the picture. He was the loan officer at the credit union where Mom refinanced our car. Charismatic, with salt and pepper hair and a laugh that filled rooms. He waved a fee, asked her out for pie. She floated home that night, eyes sparkling. He's kind.
Sarah.
Divorced. Owns a ranch-style house in the suburbs. And he asked about you. Wants to make sure you're okay with this. At 13. I was thrilled to see her light up when he brought me a stargazing app because Mom mentioned my love for astronomy. I thought he was genuine. They wed after 8 months. A simple ceremony at City Hall. Mom in a soft blue dress, me clutching wildflowers. We moved into his place. Spacious rooms. A yard with apple trees. Victor gifted me a laptop. Hung Dad's photos without complaint. "Tom sounds like a stand-up guy," he'd say. "Raised a smart kid like you." But the shift was gradual, like dusk creeping in. Victor suggested Mom cut hours at the diner. "I've got us covered."
Elaine.
Rest easy. Then merged finances for efficiency. Sold her old clunker because mine's safer. Each step seemed thoughtful. But Mom started fading. No more bold outfits. No diner pals dropping by. Victor preferred classy neutrals, discouraged her rowdy friends. By 14, she asked his okay for everything: groceries, haircuts, even calling Grandma. I found Dad's old watch in the trash one day. "Victor says clinging to the past isn't healthy," she murmured, avoiding my gaze. That night, I started a secret notebook, jotting changes, rules. The way her laugh dimmed. Not evidence yet, just a way to hold on to who we were. The mask slipped when I was 15, home late from debate practice. Victor answered her phone. "She's under the weather. Bus at home." I found her sweeping shattered glass from a vase. Hands quaking. "Slipped," she lied. But the wall dent told another story. Dinners became tense rituals. Victor monologuing about work. Mom nodding silently. Me picking at food. Rules piled on, no closed doors. No unapproved friends. Spot checks of my room. I hid cash from babysitting gigs, sensing an escape fund brewing. Isolation wrapped around her like vines, friends labeled jealous, family interfering. Her phone got a tracker for safety. At 16, I snapped during one of his tirades over a $5 coffee receipt. "It's nothing," I shouted. His eyes darkened. "Ungrateful brat," he hissed, launching into a rant about my lack of discipline since Dad died. Mom whispered, "Apologize, Sarah." I did, but resentment simmered. I threw myself into school, extracurriculars, anything to flee the house. Grades became my ticket out, scholarships, college apps done in secret. But deep down, I plotted her rescue too, researching abuse signs, vowing to pull her free once I was strong enough. The bruise that changed it all appeared on a crisp October morning my senior year. I'd risen early for college essays when I heard Mom's stifling sobs in the bathroom. Knocking softly. "You all right?" "Just a migraine," she called. But emerging, her concealer failed to hide the mottled purple along her collarbone. "Bumped the cabinet," she claimed weakly. That afternoon, with Victor at his golf league, I cornered her. "We can go."
Mom.
"I've saved enough for a motel. Bus tickets. We don't have to stay." Her eyes widened in terror. "Don't be silly. He'd find us. And besides, it's not like that." But her flinch when his key turned in the lock said otherwise. I started slipping her notes, helplines, shelter addresses, hidden in laundry or books. She'd burn them, whispering,
"He means well."
"It's stress from work." College acceptance came like salvation. Full ride to University of Washington in Seattle. Victor threw a party, toasting our girls' success, but his grip on my shoulder felt like a warning. Mom hugged me tight at move-in, eyes glassy. "Be good,
Sarah. Don't worry about me."
But I did. Calls home grew strained. She'd parrot his lines. Hang up abruptly if he entered. Visits revealed more. Faded marks. Scripted smiles. By sophomore year, I majored in social work, drawn to the classes on domestic dynamics. Therapy unpacked my own scars, the hypervigilance, trust issues, coercive control. My counselor named it. It's abuse without always leaving bruises. I mailed Mom articles anonymously,
Hoping.
Victor's threats escalated, voicemails accusing me of turning her against him. I saved them all. Graduation loomed, and I begged her to come alone. "We can start over." She refused. He's family now. Post-college, I landed the Tacoma job, apartment hunting far from their suburb. Contact dwindled to holidays, but concern gnawed.
Then,
A tip from a mutual acquaintance. Mom in the ER for falls. I drove over unannounced, finding her icing a swollen wrist. "Clumsy me," she laughed off. Victor loomed. "What are you doing here?" "Checking on my mom," he smirked. "She doesn't need your drama." That night, I sent the hotline brochure, my last Hail Mary. Silence followed, until that birthday crash. Back in the ER, ribs taped, face swelling. I replayed her laugh. Her words. Betrayal burned hotter than pain. Police statements dragged on, officers noting the cams. My alarm logs. Victor screamed denials from holding. Mom sat mute, avoiding my gaze. Charges filed. Assault. Burglary. Destruction of property. Bail hearing next. As I discharged, a detective pulled me aside. "Your mom's clamming up. Think she'll flip?" I shook my head. She chose him long ago. Home was a crime scene. Tape across the door. Bloodstains mocking my sanctuary. I crashed at a colleague's. Nightmares replaying the punches. Her grin. Therapy doubled. I journaled furiously, piecing together how love twisted into this. Dad's memory haunted, His promise extracted in weakness. My failure to fulfill it. But was it failure? Or her choice? Restraining order granted. But Victor posted bail. Slithering back to her. Whispers reached me, him raging about ungrateful kids, her defending him to neighbors. Pretrial loomed like a storm. My lawyer, a sharp public defender named Carla, prepped me. They'll smear you, harasser. Unstable. But evidence is solid. Videos, medicals, your cloud files. Mom's deposition request came. She evaded. I testified first. Voice steady despite shakes. He broke in.
Assaulted me while she watched and
Encouraged. Cross-exam. Defense painted me obsessed. Vengeful. You sent unsolicited materials? Resources for abuse victims. Jury leaned forward. Then Mom on the stand. Frail and beige. Hands clasped. Defense coaxed. Did your husband attack unprovoked? She glanced at Victor.
Me.
The floor. Tears welled.
I
Can't. Recess denied. She broke. Yes. He beat her. And I stood by.
God.
I told him to. Chaos erupted, objections. Victor lunging. Restrained. Redirect. Why?
Fear.
He'd isolated me. Controlled everything. Threatened worse if I didn't back him. She spilled. Years of manipulation. Hidden hits. Drained inheritance from Dad. I thought pushing Sarah away protected her. But I was wrong. I chose survival over motherhood. Victor's outburst sealed it. Traitor. Jury saw the beast. Guilty verdict after 4 hours. Max sentence. 15 years. Sentencing. My impact statement poured out. Victor didn't just break my body, he eroded my family. But I reclaim it now. Judge nodded. Predator like you deserves the cage. As they hauled him off, his glare promised hell. But bars dulled it. Mom approached post-court.
Tentative.
Sarah. Not now. I walked away, heart heavy but unbowed. She had her path. I had mine. Months blurred into a haze of healing, physical therapy for ribs, counseling for the soul-deep scars. I relocated to Seattle proper. A cozy walk-up with bolted doors and a view of Puget Sound. Waves reminding me life ebbs and flows. Work consumed me. Case files of fractured families mirroring mine. But now I approached with empathy forged in fire. You're not alone, I'd tell clients. Meaning it bone deep. Nightmares persisted. 12:14 a.m. Awakenings. Phantom punches. Her laugh echoing. But daylight brought progress. Yoga for calm. Friends who listened without pity. A support group for adult children of abuse became my anchor. Stories shared lightened the load. My mom chose him too, one woman confessed. How do you forgive? Maybe you don't, I replied. You just move forward. Media caught wind post-trial, local news framing it as triumph over terror. I spoke at a vigil. Voice amplified. Abuse thrives in silence. Speak up. Resources exist, the hotline. Shelters. You deserve freedom. Calls flooded my office. I trained volunteers. Expanded programs. Redemption flickered in small wins. A mom escaping with her kids. Crediting my story. But Mom's shadow lingered. Letters arrived. Forwarded. I'm in therapy.
Sarah.
Remembering who I was before him. I filed them unread. Anger a stubborn companion. A year on. Parole whispers stirred. Victor angling for early release. Panic surged. But I channeled it. Petitions. Testimony prep. He's a threat. I argued to the board. Denied. Relief washed over. Mingled with pity for her. Still tethered by guilt.
Then.
An unexpected call, her lawyer. Elaine's divorcing. Seeking asset recovery. Needs your deposition on the control. Hesitant. I agreed, facts only. No emotion. Seeing her in the office. Thinner. Eyes clearer. Thank you, she murmured. For what? You watched him hurt me.
Tears.
I was lost. But your strength. It woke me. Deposition done. I left without goodbye. Healing isn't tidy. Its jagged edges slowly smoothing. 2 years post-attack. I presented at a national conference. Intergenerational impacts of coercive control. Slides detailed patterns. My anonymized story as centerpiece. Attendees nodded. Some tearful. This saves lives, a colleague said. Dedication. To daughters who wait, and to mothers who might still choose better. Victor's appeals failed. He'd wrought longer. Security upgraded. But fear lessened. I'd faced worse and won. A beach photo of Dad and young me sat on my desk. Windswept hair. Shared grins. I kept the promise my way, I whispered. By saving myself first. The hotline shift buzzed. A trembling voice. My husband. I need out. You're safe here, I soothed. Let's plan your steps. This was my purpose, turning pain to power. Betrayal to beacon. And somewhere, perhaps Mom was rebuilding too. Lipstick bold again. Singing off-key. Forgiveness? Time would tell.
For now.
Freedom sufficed. The 3rd anniversary of that night hit like a quiet wave. No fanfare. Just reflection over coffee as rain pattered Seattle's streets. I'd built a life vibrant with purpose. Promoted to program director. Overseeing shelters citywide. Evenings filled with writing, a memoir in drafts. Raw and unflinching. Not for revenge, I told my therapist. But revelation. Friends urged dating. I dipped toes. Finding solace in kind eyes. Shared laughs. No rush. Trust rebuilt brick by brick. Mom's updates trickled via aunt. Group therapy in Boise. Nursing gig at a clinic. Tentative step solo. A card arrived. Proud of you always. I kept it. A crack in my armor. Parole hearing loomed again. I testified remotely. Voice firm. He's manipulative. Unrepentant. Board agreed. Extension granted. Victory tasted bittersweet. Justice served. But scars remained. A client reunion event warmed me. Survivors sharing triumphs. Kids thriving. You gave me hope, one said. Tears mingled with hugs. This mended the broken parts. For years in, a breakthrough, Mom's email. Can we talk? No pressure. Heart pounding. I replied. Coffee shop. Neutral ground. She arrived aged but steadier. No makeup mask. I don't expect forgiveness, she started.
Just.
Understanding. Stories poured. Her grief post-dad. Vulnerability Victor exploited. He made me small. Then convinced me it was safety. Anger flared. You let him beat me.
Sobs.
Worst regret. I was coward. Silence stretched. Then, I'm sorry. Truly. Not absolution. But a start. We parted with awkward hugs. Tentative plans for more. Healing danced forward. 2 steps. 1 back. My book published. Shadows of Silence. Bestseller in self-help. Tours. Interviews. Messages flooded. Your story saved me. Impact rippled. Policy changes advocated. Victor's health declined in prison. Irony noted. Pity absent. 5 years. A quiet wedding to Alex. A gentle teacher met at a fundraiser. Mom attended. Eyes misty. Dad would love this. Reconciliation slow. Monthly calls. Shared memories. Not perfect, but real. The attack's echo faded, replaced by laughter. Love. Yet questions lingered. How do we forgive the unforgivable? When does survival become thriving? Answers evolved daily. On the 7th anniversary, I stood before a TEDx crowd, spotlights warm. Betrayal cuts deepest from those we love. I began. Story unfolded. The door crash. Punches. Her laugh. Gasps rippled. Then resilience. Escape. Justice.
Purpose.
We don't just survive. We illuminate paths for others. Applause thundered. Afterward. Embraces from strangers turned allies. Home to Alex. Our cozy house buzzing with plans. Adoption papers filed. Dreams of family redefined. Mom visited often now. Baking Dad's recipes. Sharing laughs without shadows. You've taught me strength, she admitted. Victor died in custody. Heart failure, no fanfare. Just closure. His end prompted reflection. Pity for his brokenness. Gratitude for my wholeness. Work expanded. National advocacy. Laws tightened on coercive control. A daughter's letter. Mom chose me because of your book. Cycle broken. Yet ethical whispers remained. Does forgiveness require forgetting? Can monsters be victims too? No easy answers. But in the quiet, I chose grace, not for them, but me. Life pulsed forward, mornings with coffee and waves, evenings with love and light. The girl who counted punches now counted blessings, turning darkness to dawn. And in that, the truest victory, living unbound, questioning still, but free.